to this beautiful, beautiful place. We gather in deep sadness, but in deeper love for this one who was so beloved, this one who was described to me as so bright, independent, determined, interested, interesting, hardworking, a happy rebel with a beautiful head of hair who meant so much to us and brought so much to us in our lives. Michael was a strong and steady presence, and his loss leaves a void that's impossible to fill with anything else. That's why we came here today. We all put this day and time on our calendar so we could be with other people who have this same void, who miss and want to honor Michael. Together today, we want to go into a deep and personal place within ourselves to honor this man who is given so generously, mentored, and sacrificed so much for the good of other people. I want to remind you that this is the time and place to feel your feelings to their very fullest extent, and this bears testimony to the goodness of Michael's life and the heroism that he showed while he was here. I know that he was a devoted son to his parents, Harry and Ellen, and loyal to his siblings, Nancy, Heather, Tim, and Eric. He was determined in this life. He stood fast on his principles. He absorbed knowledge all of his days, and he remained a confident and independent man. As a result, he made interesting things that brought them both great joy. Michael was brave when he faced the adversities of his life, and he moved forward from such events without losing his ability to find joy in the simple things of this life, like reading, researching, writing. And he didn't squander the time that he had here, Carol assured me. He had great heart for his family, for Carol, for her family, and all others in his life, all of you. He was a tender man who knew that the best things in life aren't things. So devotion, determination, hard work, sacrifice, courage, heart are all heroic qualities that we can ever after associate with Michael Hamilton. Because when we realize that some of those virtues may have rubbed off on us because we spent time with him, it's hopeful. And it's hopeful because we can carry a little bit of him with us. I call it the very best of him in the form of his legacy. And when we share his legacy, he has a continued presence in our lives and in the world. What a magnificent morning to honor Michael Hamilton. I know you are looking behind me and seeing this magnificent view, and he would be smiling, I think. I know everyone has one of his creations, a wristband or a ring, and I want you to put your hands on it right now. I know that he must have loved the feel and the smell of leather that would be like putty in his hands. Admire those items over there, but at this time, put your hands on your item, this gift, and by touching these precious and significant things upon which Michael Hamilton put his hands, we dedicate this time and space to every beautiful and precious memory that you bring of Michael Hamilton. We have a song, and Carol told me that he used to sing this song in the car on the way to a lecture to tune up his voice. So enjoy it.
Yesterday, a child came out to wander, caught a dragonfly inside a jar. seasons, they go round and round, and the painted ponies go up and down. We're captive on the carousel of time. We can't return, we can only look behind from where we came, and go round and round and round in a circle again. Then the child moved 10 times round the seasons, skated over 10 clear frozen streams. Words like when you're older must appease him, and promises of someday make his dreams. And the seasons, they go round and round, and the painted ponies go up and down. We're captive on the carousel of time. We can't return, we can only look behind from where we came, and go round and round and round in a circle again. 16 springs and 16 summers gone now. Cartwheels turn to car wheels through the town, and they tell him, take your time, it won't be long now, till you drag your feet too slow, the circles down. And the seasons, they go round and round, and the painted ponies go up and down. We're captive on the carousel of time. We can't return, we can only look behind from where we came, and go round and round and round in the circle again. So the years spin by, and now the boy is 20. Though his dreams have lost some grandeur coming true, there'll be new dreams, maybe better dreams, and plenty before the last revolving year is through. And the seasons, they go round and round, and the painted ponies go up and down. We're captive on the carousel of time. We can't return, we can only look behind from where we came, and go round and round and round in the circle again. And go round and round and round in the circle again.
It was nice to hear that song again. Whew. I found that one of the very best ways to honor someone is to simply give time and space to their story. And that's how I plan to honor this very unique and special man. So thank you for being here today, because together we give Michael a very precious gift. It's the gift of our time. To show love and honor and respect for this man whom you've loved, we give Michael Hamilton the gift of our sacred time today to reflect upon his story. Michael Seymour Hamilton was born on June 1st, 1946, in Ithaca, New York, to Harry and Ellen Louise Moore Hamilton. He was their second child, their first boy, who was preceded in birth by his sister Nancy and followed in birth by Heather, Timothy, and Eric. I imagine this as a traditional family back then who ate meals around the table each night, where they learned the value of hard work, education, and the value of both connection to and independence from other people. Let me tell you a little bit where Michael comes from. His dad, Harry Hamilton, was a man from the upstate New York area, Ithaca area. Picture the typical small-town lawyer with perhaps a suit and tie and maybe a beat-up leather briefcase. Carol said he did estates. He worked in real estate and was happy to take care of all of the little elderly ladies in town. Carol said that tenderly of Harry. She told me he was a happy, generous man who was intelligent and jovial. Harry was an exemplary father, and Michael loved him all of his days. Carol said Michael took care of both his parents all of their days. And then there was Ellen Louise Moore, a lady from Tennessee who Carol described as easy to love, everyone's confidant, and an earth mother before her time. Ellen had graduated from Cornell University, as Harry had, so she was intelligent, she was unique, and ahead of her time in many, many ways. Ellen was community-oriented. She fostered kids. She provided interim families for those who needed them and served on the board of their local Unitarian church. Michael sounded a lot like his mother, and Carol said they were very, very close. Here are Michael's words from Ellen L. Moore Hamilton. I acquired an abiding tolerance for others and unrepentant liberal values. From Harry S. Hamilton, I acquired a strong sense of duty and the value of perseverance. Michael described a good childhood in the late 40s. It was a traditional childhood, and Michael was an adventurous boy who walked to school and, Carol said, explored the deep gorges of the upstate New York area. He had a pet dog, Clancy, and would take long treks with his dog when he was as young as 2 years old. An adventurous little kid, curious from the start. He went to the local schools. He was highly intelligent. He had a core group of friends, and Carol described him as a reserved and a loner. He was proud of it, she added. Michael was a thinker who didn't need a lot of people around to validate him. He retained good friends with whom he shared interests to this day and was a good and loyal friend. He would call himself in his writings, in his later writings, an underachiever as a kid. After he graduated from Ithaca High School in 1964, he didn't go on to some high-powered university. He went to work in the local motorcycle shop. He had a motorcycle, after all. He owned one. He was mechanical, not only intelligent in book learning, but kind of a Renaissance man. He was mechanically inclined, and anyone who rides a motorcycle I consider fearless. He was good with his hands, Carol said. He could build or fix anything. He was artistic, he was creative, and eventually, as the years unfolded, would find his outlet working in leather. Carol had said to me early in our conversation, it was much more than a hobby. Michael wrote of this time, having freedom to take classes in Greek mythology, welding, English literature, pre-Columbian art history, silver jewelry making, Chinese philosophy, Russian literature, creative writing, environmental politics, and so on, I found myself in an intellectual sweet spot. With seasonal employment in a local motorcycle shop and undergraduate grants, in 1974, I paid the bills and graduated with a BA in social sciences, summa cum laude, with a certificate in Asian studies. Obviously, Michael loved knowledge, learning. He attended colleges in Indiana, Iowa, New Mexico, and Toronto, Canada. He would achieve a PhD and teach political science, as well as many more things as his career unfolded. He would teach at CSU here and retire from a position on staff at the University of Southeastern Maine, where he taught for 27 years. His resume is long and impressive, and his list of published books and journal articles lengthy. I learned from his writings that from an early age, Michael Hamilton took some personal hits for things like his long flowing hair, for things like wearing sandals without socks in New Mexico, and I learned that he was actually denied privileges for such things, all the while writing policy for the schools he attended, earning awards for his scholarship, and being a regular name on the dean's list for his perfect grades. Undeterred, Michael only became more persistent in his quest for things in which he was interested and in his profound appreciation for the absurd ironies of this life. In 1970, he found himself in Denver, Colorado, where he opened the Hired Hand, a leather goods shop on South Gaylord Street near Washington Park. Carol Bogus went into the shop to look around and admire the artistic wares, and she struck up a friendship with this good-looking guy that she described sparked pretty quickly. They had things in common, starting with the fact that she was born in upstate New York. It's a little thing, but they were very compatible. Carol had written about the store. He said his retail store in Denver in the 70s also provided a home for artisans to consign their jewelry, pottery, and other items, thereby fostering the art of other people. I asked Carol to describe Michael, and I wasn't ready for this. Here's how she described him. Quiet but powerful in his opinions, articulate, highly intelligent, restless, diligent, thorough, dedicated, accomplished, never afraid of hard work, creative, kind, quietly generous, secretly romantic, gentle yet powerful, long silver hair, quiet and less debating, skilled, and a fighter for students, teachers, justice, the environment, trees, and in the end, his life. Carol, an admitted inveterate editor, is also a wordsmith. And I imagine she had lots of practice editing over the years, living with such a prolific writer. Carol clearly admired and loved Michael, and I know she must have made him very, very happy. They lived together for 14 years before they eventually tied the knot in Estes Park on August 10th, 1985. They moved to Maine for Michael's position at Southeastern Maine University, and he loved it there. He loved working with students there who were, in many cases, Carol told me, the very first of their families to go to college. He had a tremendous impact on these kids. She told me he taught them about government, administration of government, budgeting, environmental and energy issues, thus training them to go out and make things better. He was dedicated to them, Carol said, and he believed in improving this world. It's impossible to know how many of these students have already, or will in the future, change something for the better because of this professor, Michael Hamilton. Carol said they had wonderful travels together to Indonesia. They loved Bali. They snorkeled together in the waters of Hawaii and the Caribbean. Carol lovingly said, "He just took me along." She wasn't very adventurous by nature, she said. She said he was cerebral, a planner who looked forward to things. He always had ideas, and it was usually about improving something. Ooh. We have a gathering of birds to help us honor Michael today. It's beautiful. They're drawn to this. We're finding comfort in signs like that, I think. We're finding comfort in knowing that Michael found great joy in this life. Again, he didn't squander his time here, and Carol said he would want to be remembered as a quiet, dignified man. He was curious, he researched, he studied, he wrote, and he read. Michael loved this natural world. Those birds knew it. He was concerned about it. He planted trees. They like that too. Trees that stand today as a testimonial to him. He loved his leather works. Carol said he loved antique tractors. He loved all intellectual pursuits, all mechanical things. He loved the cottage on Cayuga Lake in upstate New York, time with extended family, friends, and all those happy times. Although I imagined a humble man, we imagined that Michael would be proud of the work that he had done here while he was here and all the students to whom he was personally dedicated. He made a difference, again, that we can only ponder on a day such as this. He loved the precision of his leather works and all of the things to which he put his hands, his writings, which are there on the table with some of his leather works, his books, journal articles, and more. He was proud of his work with the U.S. State Department in Indonesia, studying the impact of coal mining on our magnificent rainforest. He made a difference, and he and Carol made 5 trips there of his 6 trips to Indonesia. She said he trained people, he put out fires, he made a difference. I imagined that Michael would be proud of the good life that he had made for Carol and all of those people that he loved the very most. He had been dedicated to Carol in many ways. We learn significant things from the people who are important in our lives, and Carol told me Michael made me smarter. He made me braver. He gently shared his knowledge during their 50-year love affair. When Ginny Bogus became ill, Carol and Michael headed west to be closer to family. Carol said Mom and Michael loved each other very, very much. She told me that she and Michael built their dream home in Berthoud, where they would sit together on the deck, watch the sunset. They'd take dips in the pool, and enjoyed a view that spans the horizon, just like the one we're enjoying right now. Carol said, "You might say it's fitting that we're here at Chapel Hill where Ginny is, so she can be present too at this memorial." Carol wrote that we plan to spread his ashes atop Loveland Pass, as we desired for both of us. It's the first place we visited together in the mountains. It was where he proposed and where we spent every anniversary we could. He worked hard for our whole life together to provide for us, and will provide for me for the rest of my life. She ended with, "I think he wanted a memorial to recognize his work and provide him with some final respect and dignity." Carol has done that now. I know that she may not be certain as to how to navigate this life without this man who was her North Star, her rudder, her sail, her best friend, teacher, husband. But she's sure of the rich legacy that he leaves. He did well in this life. He stood strong. He was passionate about things. He imparted and promoted knowledge, art, inspiration, and he won't ever be forgotten. So be it, and peace to you all. This was an important song to Michael because he came to this state in his 27th year, and he loved the state of Colorado.
He was born in the summer of his 27th year, coming home to a place he'd never been before. He left yesterday behind him. You might say he was born again. You might say he found the key for every door. When he first came to the mountains, his life was far away, on the road, hanging by a song. But the string's already broken, and he doesn't really care. It keeps changing fast, and it don't last for long. But the Colorado Rocky Mountain High, I've seen it rain and fire in the sky. The shadow from the starlight is softer than a lullaby. Rocky Mountain High, Colorado. Rocky Mountain High, Colorado. He climbed Cathedral Mountains. He saw silver clouds below. He saw everything as far as you can see. And they say that he got crazy once, and he tried to touch the sun, and he lost a friend but kept the memory. Now he walks in quiet solitude, the forests and the streams, seeking grace in every step he takes. His side is turned inside himself to try and understand the serenity of a clear blue mountain lake. And the Colorado Rocky Mountain High, I've seen it rain and fire in the sky. Talk to God and listen to the casual reply. Rocky Mountain High, Colorado. Rocky Mountain High, Colorado. Now his life is full of wonder, but his heart still knows some fear of a simple thing he cannot comprehend. While they try to tear the mountains down,
Morning. Hopefully everybody can hear me okay.
Don't worry.
There's a technique to working microphones.
Yes.
Something about this. Thank you. Oh, that's plenty.
Too much?
Down a little bit. Okay, that's good. Thank you, Susan.
Yes, absolutely.
For those of you that don't know me, I'm Doug Clifton, and I'm Carol's sister Lori's husband. I want to welcome all the family and friends that were able to be here in person today, and also those that are joining us virtually. Had some thoughts and memories that we wanted to share. Michael was an important member of our family for decades. We had many happy times together, especially at birthdays and holidays. No matter where they lived, whether New Mexico, Maine, or Colorado, Michael was a steadfast partner to Carol, always providing for her comfort. And they were constant companions, completely devoted to each other. And together they happily raised 3 adorable Samoyeds, which you'll see 2 of those wonderful dogs that are included in photos inside the folder that you have. Lori fondly recalls a 4-day visit to their one-room cabin in Allens Park in the 70s, where Carol and Michael hauled water from a creek, heated the cabin with a wood-burning stove, and attended town hall meetings. A little more rustic living, for sure, but they loved their peaceful mountain home. Michael was considerate and respectful to our mom, eager to help her in any way, whether with fixing things around her house or helping with the yard. We spent literally countless hours as a family talking around Mom's dining room table, discussing almost anything. Not one to walk away from a spirited debate. Michael could debate just about anything with anyone. We usually learned something from him and from his passion, which he argued with which he argued his point. Michael was generous in advising on investment matters. He shared his knowledge of wine as well as helpful hints on tools and home repairs. He was as excited about a new wild critter around their property as he was about an antique tractor that he found. Love of nature and something that we shared as well, and he applied his considerable skills to fighting for environmental causes. It was nice to see Michael return to his leathercraft in retirement, coming full circle when he and Carol met at the Hired Hand all those years ago. In fact, I'm wearing a belt that I was gifted by Michael, made by Michael here more recently. Lori still has a gray suede mini dress that he made, embroidered with columbines by Carol. Of course, that's a bit too small to wear now, Lori says the same. Happy days were at their recently built home, and Poole and Berthoud were wonderful to see and share with them, as we did many times. Michael's cancer was a cruel blow. He and Carol should have had another decade or 2 together. But the 50 years that they did have were remarkable. Michael, you've led an accomplished life, and you will be missed. Rest in peace.
Thank you, Doug. Is there anyone else who would like to come up to the mic and share? Doug, you did a beautiful job for the family. Thank you. It's down a foot or 2. I'm going to read some tributes that were sent. Lawrence, a special graduate student and later a good friend, writes, "Let me share some memories of Mike. We first met when he came to CSU for graduate work in political science. He became one of 3 stars who comprised the first group to earn PhDs from the newly established Environmental Natural Resource Program. Beyond the classroom where he excelled, he and I worked on several projects, including his dissertation with Norm Wingert, who, like me, had a high opinion of Mike and his intellectual prowess. I was unable to bring Mike back to the department here due to the university tradition semi-rule about our hiring our own graduates, but we kept in touch over the years. He did a collection of national security policy course outlines and asked me to contribute mine. In 2013, he published Energy Policy Analysis, a conceptual framework. Every so often when I'm feeling down, I take the book out of the bookshelf and read his kind words about me in the preface. When he called a few years ago to say you were moving back to Colorado, I was thrilled that he would be nearby and we could resume our political discussions, and we did, at your home, our home, and at the Olive Garden. Later, Nancy had the opportunity to meet you and Mike. It is most fitting that my last interaction with Mike was the joint writing project intended to help Democrats fend off false charges by Republicans that they will ruin the nation with socialism. In this way, Mike continues to serve our country. Al Whitehouse, a colleague of Michael's, wrote, "One of the highlights of my career was the time I spent in Indonesia and in the collaboration with Michael and Richard. Michael was instrumental in getting me there through an intergovernmental project on environmental management of mines. In government, there are many good ideas that never mature into actions, but through Michael's hard work and creativity, he was able to secure funding. As our project progressed and morphed into a second and then a third, we became more than colleagues. We became friends. Over the nearly 11 years, we worked hard, but we enjoyed our free time together. We were guests in each other's homes and shared many meals. Michael and Carol were living in a small house in Portland, Maine, with 2 large white dogs. I learned, as Carol and Michael said, that the lint brush was our friend, but more than that, Portland was overrun with great restaurants. I looked forward to the twice-yearly visits to Maine, not only for the food, but for the friendship and deep discussions on life and how to move our projects forward. Michael was the analyst, and he visited Indonesia at least once a year to look at what we had accomplished and what was left to do. I was busy doing, and he tallied the score and kept me on track. I enjoyed having Michael and Carol visit in Jakarta. We tried to get around a bit to show off some of the sights and visit with our Indonesian colleagues. They always packed their snorkel gear and took every opportunity to use it. It was a chance to show off our adopted hometown, and they enjoyed the huge change from Portland, especially in the winter. I am lucky that I knew Michael, and I miss our time together. Fortunately, I have good memories of the personal times we had, as well as the family times spent together. That was special. I will miss him. From Al. And then his wife writes, Vanna Nespor writes, "It is impossible to conceive of a world without Michael in it. No matter the distance or the years, you two have always been and will always be close to our hearts, our dearest, brilliant, creative, cherished friends." And then the last I want to read is a letter from friend Louise, who writes, "Dearest Carol, all I have to do is look out my window and I am surrounded by memories of Michael. Together, the 3 of us planted many of the things I have been watching grow for 20 years. And then there is the joy I get from watching the birds. I remember the Christmas when Michael helped me fill my first bird feeder, a gift from both of you. But the opening me up to the world of snorkeling changed my life and took me to places I never dreamed I'd get to. So many snorkeling memories. One of my favorite images is Michael driving us in a golf cart into town on Green Turtle Key. Michael touched many lives, friends, students, co-workers, and even Santa is looking for a belt. He will be missed. Our job now is to stay much in touch, much more often. Love you, Louise. Beautiful tributes from others. We won't see Michael again face to face, but he leaves the very best of himself to us in the form of his legacy. He will come back to us in all of his works, all the things he wrote, all of the students whom he mentored, and all of the projects to which he put his hand. We will evermore recall Michael when we are curious, when we're studious, focused, thorough, generous, confident, and when we're comfortable in our own skin. Carol shared with me her personal beliefs and said, "I don't know where he is today," as most of us wonder what form we take after passing from this life. We don't know, but here is of what I am certain. I am certain that Michael Hamilton deserves our thanks today for the memories and the legacy that he leaves. So I easily address him. Michael, your family and friends are very, very grateful for all you meant to them, all you taught and all you gave. It is difficult for us to say farewell to you, but we know we must. So today, together, we willingly give you this gift of releasing you to your final rest. In gratitude for your life and your spirit here among us, we wish you eternal peace, Michael, and we thank you for your time here with us. We will remember you in the simple moments of this life. We will remember you in all of the lessons that we'll carry forward, and we will especially remember you in the dark times when we need your strength and resilience in order to face our own life's challenges. I encourage you to read the poem that Ellen Louise Hamilton wrote, which is in your service folder. It says, "When I am dead, grieve for me a little, if you will, and then rejoice that I have lived and loved, savored the sounds and smells of springtime and of autumn, the fruits of summer and the new fallen snow, welcomed the sunset and the moonrise, followed the stars, dreamed by the campfire, marveled at fossils and rainbows and the joys of creation. I have no fear of death or what comes after. If you remember me with love, what more could I ask? We are all star stuff of the beginning and for all time." Let us close this time in the spirit of peace. Oh, yes, excuse me. Thank you. The video tributes, excuse me.
Or good morning, I guess. I'm sorry I can't be there with you all, but this will have to do. To describe Michael in a few words, he was a lot. He was incisively intelligent, relentlessly energetic, nonstop productive, impressively accomplished, unapologetically opinionated, meticulously well organized, and always visibly restless, if not impatient. And of course, more than anything, he was a man who deeply loved my sister, who we all gathered to support today. I remember meeting Michael at his leather shop on Pearl Street, the hired hand, when we all did in 1970 or 71. There was a small cluster of retail spaces there representing an oasis of welcome for the hippies of the area. A record store, a pizza parlor, and a couple of other places, among them the hired hand. I loved hanging out in there, checking out the leather vests and jackets and belts on display on the wall, all skillfully crafted by Michael. Customers could easily see Michael working at his workbench in the back from inside the store, and the whole vibe was relaxed, welcoming, and cool. I was happy when Carol started spending more and more time there, and when Carol and Michael became a couple. For one thing, it resulted in Michael hiring me to work at the hired hand, waiting on customers during summer and Christmas vacations, and getting the old family and friends discounts. It was fun. Very soon, though, we all kind of grew up and went our separate ways. I graduated from CSU in Fort Collins and moved back to Denver, just as Michael was selling the store and returning to college there. Carol and Michael had a big old kitted out van, and along with their sweet, gentle, magnificent white dogs, traveled a lot all over the continent. I moved to New York City while they stayed in Fort Collins, pursuing multiple degrees. Carol earned an undergraduate degree in both English and another in wildlife biology, followed by a master's in wildlife biology. And Michael completed his PhD in political science. They lived quite primitively in Allens Park for a while, and they moved to Albuquerque for 2 years, where Michael taught at UNM and completed his dissertation. They spent 2 years in Washington, D.C., where Michael worked as a program analyst and international programs coordinator for the Office of Surface Mining Reclamation and Enforcement for the Department of the Interior, where he played a key role in the development of global protocols for environmentally responsible surface mining practices to help control rainforest and wildlife destruction, a program funded by USAID and the World Bank, while Carol worked as an endangered species biologist for the National Wildlife Federation. When Michael landed a tenure-track position in the political science department at the University of Southern Maine, they moved to Portland, bought a house, and spent the next 27 years immersed in the Rocky Coast and lobsters lifestyle, with annual trips to Indonesia, where Michael was a coal policy consultant for the Indonesian government. On their way back and forth, they traveled extensively, including to Singapore, Hawaii, and New Zealand. Though they loved Maine, they always knew they would head back to Colorado as soon as he retired, and they did. They painstakingly designed the home they planned to live in together into old age. Single story, solar powered, with a swimming pool and the most celestial view of the mountains the Front Range could provide. Michael taught an occasional class at CSU and relaunched the hired hand, this time as an online Etsy-based business. In addition to his leathercraft workshop adjoining the garage, they had a room in their house with a vast table where Michael would spread enormous cowhides for cutting. They had booths at craft fairs in northern Colorado, and improbably and utterly remarkably, Michael developed a niche market of Christmas Santas the world over, for whom he made dozens of huge, wide black leather belts with big square brass buckles to accessorize their red suits. But Michael had energy to burn still. He bought an antique tractor and restored it. He enjoyed working on their land. Over the past couple of years, he and Carol alone dug holes and planted over 200 trees and shrubs. He found he enjoyed that work so much that he placed ads around the area as a small hole digger for hire and made himself available to dig holes for fence posts and trees for the HOA and for his neighbors. Who could have imagined that such a vital, creative, restlessly energetic, constantly on the go man would suddenly get clipped at the knees by cancer? Even following his diagnosis with multiple myeloma last November, Michael stoically accepted all recommended treatments and emerged with a very hopeful prognosis for many more years of life. He pushed himself to exercise and regain his mobility, often to Carol's alarm at the level of risk-taking. And he set his sights on the challenges of big, necessary structural repairs on their new home, on more leather work and outdoor work, on travel to Britain to visit his family heritage sites, and on spending many more years with the wife he adored. But then in May, a second body blow, and this one, leukemia, couldn't be overcome. What a life you had, Michael Hamilton. You used your time mighty well. You made a difference. You left a mark. You won't be forgotten. Your memory will live on in your books, in the work of your many students will go on to do in your impact on the planet as you help shape policy that lessened the negative impact of coal production and use, in the craftsmanship you left behind, in the trees you planted, and around the generous waists of hundreds of Santas as they bounce kids on their laps and hand out gifts everywhere. And more than anything, it lives on in Carol's memories of her beloved partner of 50 years. With respect, Michael, for your life well lived. Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Hello, Carol and dear friends and family. I'm very sorry I can't be in Denver to join you all for Michael's memorial, but I'm happy to participate in this way. My fondest and most enduring memories of Michael are from the Hired Hand when he first opened it, which would have been 1970, 71. And a few years ago, he asked me if I still had something that he made for me. And he made it for me for working for him. And I do still have it, and I'm wearing it. It is a green suede cape, as you can see, most certainly one of a kind, gorgeously detailed, which I won't go into too much about, but also beautifully embroidered by Carol all the way around the bottom. And I do in fact still have it. You might think it's gaudy, but you have to remember that I also made a pair of gold crushed velvet bell bottoms at the same time. Carol, I am so sorry for your loss. I'm happy to celebrate Michael with you. I wish that I could be there to be more directly supportive of you. I know that this path that you're on is going to be difficult and possibly long, but I'm very glad that you are there in Denver with the rest of the family to support you. All my love, dear. Bye.
Hi, I'm Rick Hamilton, Michael's brother.
And I'm Timothy.
We're sorry that we couldn't make it out to the memorial, but we can't really afford to travel that far these days. Our condolences to Carol and family on the loss of our brother. Michael was planning on coming back to visit. We were looking forward to seeing him again. We haven't seen him in
20 years.
20 years or so, and I know he was looking forward to it too. Or sorry that didn't happen, but we were looking forward to seeing him.
That's for sure. Okay, well, I just wanted to say that Michael was a good brother and somebody that I thought of very often. He was an inspiration to the rest of us because he seemed to be good at everything he tried to do, and that was always a good motivator for the rest of us to do things that we thought were important. And he was a construction worker before he was a leather craftsman, and then he was a leather craftsman before he was a college professor. And I went on to be a construction laborer for many years, and he also was a he also was a mechanical kind of person, and that prompted me to be a mechanic on many older vehicles. I didn't do much on the newer ones because of computers, but
Yeah.
he's somebody that I will miss a great deal because of the fact that he was always there when you needed somebody to talk to. That meant a great deal to me, and I know Carol knows that I feel that way because I was really looking forward to seeing him in the spring. So.
Yeah. Like my brother, I was also a teacher in public school as an elementary teacher. I still dabble with subbing and stuff, but we will definitely miss him.
A great deal.
Great deal.
A great deal. And we hope Carol and everybody keeps in touch with us because we're going to definitely keep it. We're going to definitely keep in touch with her and the family and
Yeah.
see how everybody's doing from time to time.
And she can always call anytime she needs anything.
Yeah. And I also wanted to say that if she feels like coming to visit, then we would be more than happy to have her visit too.
Definitely. Definitely.
So,
So, love to all, and sorry you couldn't be there.
yeah, that's for sure.
See you later.
Yep, we'll see ya. Love you.
Love you.
Collectively, we send our special love to those dear people who left a video tribute. And that was Terry and Steph and Rick and Tim. So think of them right now and send them some love. They talked about his legacy, and I talked about it as well. But let us now embrace everything that Michael was. Perhaps hold on to our beautiful leather memento and close in the spirit of peace. We pause now to be still, to breathe in each moment of life with a sense of gratitude for its gifts of beauty, love, and grace. Today we pause to affirm the cycles of life and death, because we know that we're all a part of this endless and mysterious cycle of existence. But there's deep pain and loss in these days, so we pause before the mystery of life and death to reflect. We name in our hearts all who grieve this loss, particularly family members, Carol, all the friends, all of you. May they be lifted on wings of love and hope and receive the sweet balm of healing. Where there lingers any misunderstanding, alienation, or regret, we ask for the healing of forgiveness. And where there has been warmth and love, we evoke the healing power of gratitude. May Michael's memory remain with you. May his wisdom return to you. And may your deep connection to him remain forever unbroken. Peace. And as you go forward from today, may your hearts recall more and more reasons to be grateful that Michael Hamilton shared this journey with you. There's much to be grateful for in these memories and in knowing that he leaves a rich legacy of absorbing, teaching, and valuing knowledge in this life. Your best way to honor him is to build on his legacy. Put into practice something you have come to value as a result of his life. And thank you for being here to honor him and for surrounding Carol with love and good wishes today and ever after. Liz?
Ladies and gentlemen, here in just a moment we're going to close with a final song today. I just want to thank you again for all being here. Once we have concluded with our song and our final time of reflection, we would like to invite everybody to join us for a reception and just share more of those memories. For those of you that maybe didn't want to speak up front, you're welcome to continue to share those stories and those memories with one another and just enjoy our time and our space today. Let's just take a quick moment to reflect.
Also, the fact that I required my own book does not mean that I make royalties from you buying it for the course. All royalties earned from the sale of the book for this class will be donated to a scholarship fund at CSU, so students like you will benefit, not me. I'm just in this for the FaceTime.